The sound of my own footsteps echoed differently in the cabin. Lighter, somehow. I was carrying the last box to my truck when I heard Brittany's voice drift through the open window. Once we get the old man into assisted living, this place will be perfect for our brand. The lake views? Insane engagement potential. I set the box down carefully. My hands didn't shake. After 43 years as a structural engineer, I'd learned that the most critical decisions require the steadiest hands. That was 3 weeks ago. But I should start from the beginning. My name is Robert Morrison. Bob to my friends. 67 years old, 5 years widowed, and until recently the sole owner of a 3-bedroom lakeside cabin in northern Michigan that my late wife Claire and I had built together in 1998. She'd picked out every light fixture, argued with me about the deck dimensions, and insisted on that ridiculous purple mailbox that still made me smile every time I saw it. I'd always thought I'd die in that house. Turns out, I was almost right about the dying part. It started innocently enough. My son Jason called me on a Tuesday evening last April. I remember because Tuesdays I usually met my friend Tom at the marina to work on our boats. I'd been looking forward to finally replacing the cleat that had been giving me trouble. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." Jason's voice had that tight quality I'd learned to recognize over his 42 years. Same tone he'd used when he'd wrecked my truck at 16, when he'd dropped out of college junior year, when he'd announced his third business venture was definitely going to work this time. "What's going on, son?" "The startup didn't work out. Investors pulled funding. Brittany and we're losing the condo. We need a place to stay. Just temporarily. Few months max, until I get the consulting business off the ground." I should have said no. Looking back, I can see that moment clearly, like a decision point on a blueprint where you know the whole structure will either stand or fall based on that single choice. But he was my son, my only child, and his kids, Madison and Tyler, were my only grandchildren. "How long is temporarily?" I asked. 2, maybe 3 months. "I swear, Dad, we won't be any trouble. You won't even know we're there." That was the first lie, though I didn't know it then. They arrived on a Saturday with a U-Haul that seemed impossibly large for a temporary stay. Brittany emerged from their Range Rover wearing yoga pants and an expression that suggested my cabin was already failing her expectations. She was 38, blonde, and had that peculiar intensity of someone who photographed everything before experiencing it. "Bob," she said. Not "Hi, Bob," or "Thanks for having us, Bob." Just my name, flat and evaluating. She'd never called me Dad, which was fine. What bothered me was that she'd never called me anything with warmth. The kids were glued to their phones. Madison, 16, looked up long enough to say, "Hey, Grandpa," before returning to her screen. Tyler, 14, didn't look up at all. "Where should we put our stuff?" Brittany asked, already walking through my living room with the critical eye of someone doing a home inspection. I cleared out the 2 bedrooms upstairs. "Mine's on the main floor, so you'll have the whole second story." She frowned. "The master's downstairs?" "My bedroom, yes." The lighting's better in the master. More natural light. I'll need that for my content." I wasn't sure what that meant, but I nodded. They settled in. For the first week, it wasn't terrible. I made breakfast, they made dinner. We established a rhythm. Jason spent his days on phone calls, pitching his new consulting service to anyone who'd listen. Brittany spent her time on her phone, taking photos of everything from her smoothie bowl to her morning meditation space, which was my deck, where I used to drink coffee and watch the sunrise. "Bob, could you maybe not use the deck before 9?" she asked one morning as I opened the slider with my coffee mug. "I'm filming my morning routine, and I need the space to be quiet and zen." "It's 6:30. "Exactly. This is my prime content time. Golden hour lighting." I went back inside, made my coffee in silence, watched the sunrise through the window instead. The requests escalated with surprising speed. Like water damage, you don't notice it until suddenly the whole structure is compromised. "Bob, we need to talk about the kitchen schedule." Brittany caught me one evening as I was pulling out ingredients for dinner. I film my meal prep content between 5 and 7. It would really help if you could eat earlier. Like 4? Or maybe just grab something later after I'm done. This is my dinner time. I've eaten at 6 o'clock for 40 years. Right, but this is my job now. Since Jason's consulting business is building, I'm the primary earner through my influence work. I have 17,000 followers now. Brands are starting to reach out. I looked at my son, who was scrolling through his phone at the kitchen table. He didn't look up. "Jason," I said. "Dad, just for a little while. Until things stabilize. It's really important for Brittany's platform growth." I ate at 4:30 the next day, and the day after that. The teenagers took over the living room. Tyler's gaming setup consumed one entire wall, a tangle of monitors and LED lights that strobed colors through the house at all hours. Madison converted my reading nook into her glam station for getting ready, leaving makeup and hair tools scattered across my wife's antique writing desk. "Could you be more careful with that desk?" I asked one morning, picking up a hot curling iron that had been set directly on the wood. "It was your grandmother's." Madison didn't look up from her phone. "It's like just a desk, Grandpa. It's a 90-year-old piece of furniture that your grandmother refinished herself." "Whatever. I'll try to remember." She didn't remember. 2 months became 3. 3 became 4. The temporary situation developed a permanent feeling. Their belongings spread through the cabin like kudzu, consuming every surface. Brittany's ring lights and camera equipment cluttered the living room. Jason's home office expanded from the dining table to include 2 entire walls of the room, covered in whiteboards with business plans that never seemed to progress beyond the planning stage. I paid the mortgage, as I always had. I paid the utilities, which had doubled with 4 additional people, and Brittany's constant need for good lighting, which meant every lamp in the house blazed from dawn to midnight. I paid the property taxes, the insurance, the dock fees for the boat I could no longer use because Tyler had claimed it for his lakeside lifestyle content. Yes, my 14-year-old grandson was posting videos of himself on my boat, acting like it was his family's luxury summer home. "Bob, we need to establish some house rules." Brittany cornered me one morning in October, 6 months after they'd arrived. She had her phone out, reading from a note. "First, we need 24 hours notice if you're having anyone over. It disrupts the content schedule and the kids' routines." "Anyone over?" "This is my house." "Right, but we live here too now, and we need stability." "Second, no cooking after 7 p.m. The kitchen noise interferes with my evening wind-down videos." "Third, we'd really appreciate it if you could keep your bedroom door closed. The hallway is part of my home tour aesthetic, and having a bedroom door open kind of ruins the flow." I stared at her. "Are you serious?" "I'm building a business here, Bob. I need you to respect that." "Where's Jason?" I asked. "He's on a call. Potential client." Jason was always on a call with a potential client. Potential was the operative word. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in November. I'd driven into town for groceries, my weekly routine. When I returned, there were cars in my driveway. Lots of cars. I walked in to find my living room full of strangers, all young, all filming themselves. "What's going on?" I asked Brittany, who was directing people like a movie producer. "Content creator meetup? It's great for engagement? Cross-promotion?" "You didn't ask me. I'm giving you notice now. They'll be here most of the day. Could you maybe stay in your room? Or go out? We need the whole space." I went to the marina. "Sat in my truck in the parking lot," called Tom. "They've taken over, haven't they?" Tom said. He was 70, a retired attorney who'd been my friend since we'd bought our boats the same summer 15 years ago. "I don't understand how this happened." "It happened because you let it. You're too nice, Bob. You think being a good father means being a doormat. They're my family. They're using you. There's a difference." I sat there for a long time after we hung up. Watched the boats bob in their slips. Claire and I had named ours Second Wind because we'd bought it the year after she'd beaten cancer the first time. We'd had 3 good years on that boat before the cancer came back. I drove back to the cabin. The content creators were gone, but the place looked like a tornado had hit it. Empty LaCroix cans everywhere. Somebody's phone charger plugged into my reading lamp. A ring light still set up in front of my bookshelf. Jason was in the kitchen making a sandwich. "Dad, there you are. Listen, Brittany and I have been talking." My chest tightened. I knew that tone. "This cabin, it's pretty big for one person, don't you think?" "It's not too big for me." "Right, but you're not getting any younger. Maintenance must be exhausting. The dock, the roof, the septic system. That's a lot for a guy your age." "I'm 67, not 90. "Sure, but we were thinking, maybe it's time to consider your options. Downsizing. There are some really nice senior communities around here. You'd have people your own age. Activities. No maintenance worries?" I set down the grocery bag I was still holding. "You want me to leave my house?" "Not leave. Just, transition to something more appropriate for your stage of life. And Brittany and I, we could take over the cabin. Keep it in the family. I'd handle everything, all the paperwork. We'd probably need to put it in our name, for tax purposes, but it would still be a family property. The lights were too bright, Brittany's ring lights, still blazing even though no one was filming. My wife's cabin, that we'd built board by board, where she'd died in our bedroom with her hand in mine, where I'd scattered her ashes from the dock. She'd insisted be built extra wide, so she could do yoga on it in the mornings. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Get out of my house." Jason's face hardened. "Dad, be reasonable. You have 60 days. Find somewhere else to live." "You can't kick us out. We have tenant rights. Kids in school. This is our residence now." That's when I knew it had been planned. He'd looked up tenant rights. They'd discussed this, probably with Brittany's phone, recording every moment for her audience. Poor Brittany, dealing with a difficult father-in-law. The narrative was already written. I didn't argue. I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the bed Claire and I had bought 30 years ago. Her perfume bottle still sat on the dresser. I hadn't been able to throw it away. "What do I do, Claire?" I whispered to the empty room. The answer came to me slowly, the way engineering solutions always do. Not in a flash of inspiration, but in a methodical consideration of all variables. They wanted the cabin? They'd made it uninhabitable for me? They were planning to take it through legal manipulation? Fine. But I wasn't going to hand it to them. The next morning, I called Tom. "I need legal advice," I said. "Can I sell a property if people are living in it? Family members who've been there less than a year? Who aren't on the deed or mortgage? Who haven't paid rent? Absolutely. They're guests, not tenants." "But Bob, you can't actually sell. That's your home." "Is it? I can't use my kitchen, my living room, my deck, or my boat. I can't have friends over. I can't cook dinner when I want. I'm paying all the bills while my son plans to steal my property and commit some kind of power of attorney fraud. Tell me, Tom, in what way is this my home?" Tom was quiet for a moment. "Rent-back agreement." "What's that?" "You sell the property, but negotiate to stay for 60 days post-closing. Gives you time to find a new place while having a guaranteed sale. The buyers take possession, but you're still physically there during the transition." "Could I do that without Jason knowing?" "It's your property, Bob. You can do whatever you want with it. You don't need his permission." I hired a realtor the next day. Jessica Warner, 50-something, sharp-eyed, recommended by Tom. She came to the house while everyone was out. Jason at another potential client meeting. Brittany filming content at some local coffee shop. Kids at school. "Beautiful property," Jessica said, walking through the cabin. "Lakeside, well-maintained, good bones. This'll sell fast, especially in this market." "How fast?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. I have clients specifically looking for lakefront, cash buyers. I need it done quietly. The people staying here can't know until closing." Jessica didn't even blink. "I've been doing this 26 years, Mr. Morrison. I've handled much more complicated family situations. We'll schedule showings when they're out. List it as available for quick possession. Find you a buyer who wants to close fast." She listed it on a Thursday. By Monday, we had 3 offers. By Wednesday, we'd accepted 1. A young couple, both teachers, with a baby on the way. They reminded me of Claire and me 30 years ago. "We've been saving for 5 years, Emily told me at the walkthrough, her hand unconsciously resting on her pregnant belly. "We want our daughter to grow up on the water, learn to sail, have a dock to jump off in summer. That's exactly why my wife and I built this place," I said. They closed in 18 days. During those 18 days, I played the role of defeated old man perfectly. I stopped arguing about the kitchen schedule. Let Brittany have full run of the house for her content. Nodded along when Jason talked about transitioning to senior living. Watched Tyler post videos on my boat without comment. I packed slowly, methodically. Everything that mattered fit into fewer boxes than I'd expected. Photos. Claire's jewelry. My tools. Some books. The purple mailbox that Claire had loved. I found a small rental house in town, 2 bedrooms, walking distance to the marina. Perfect for 1 person and occasional visits from friends. I signed that lease the same day the cabin sale finalized. Jessica scheduled the closing for a Monday morning. Jason and Brittany had a brand partnership meeting in Grand Rapids, 3 hours away. They'd be gone all day. Perfect timing. At 9 a.m., I met the young couple at the title company. By 10:30, the deed was transferred. The cabin belonged to Emily and James Patterson now. By noon, I'd moved my last boxes out. I left the keys on the kitchen counter. Took one last look at the Lakeview Claire had loved so much. Touched the doorframe she'd painted that impossible shade of sage green because she'd seen it in a magazine. "Take care of it," I whispered to the empty house. Emily and James planned to move in gradually over the week. They didn't mind Jason and Brittany's stuff being there temporarily. They were patient people, these teachers. But they'd sent a formal letter, delivered by their attorney, notifying the occupants that the property had been sold, and they had 48 hours to vacate per Michigan property law. That letter was delivered Tuesday morning. I was in my new place, actually unpacking for the first time, when my phone rang. "Jason, Dad, what the hell's going on? There are people here saying they own the cabin, saying we have to leave. Some kind of scam, identity theft, maybe." I called the police. "It's not a scam, Jason." "What?" "I sold the cabin 3 weeks ago. It closed yesterday. The new owners are taking possession now." Silence, then. "You can't sell it. We live here. You were guests in my home. I can sell my property whenever I want." "This is insane. Where are we supposed to go?" "I don't know, son." "Where were you planning for me to go? That senior living facility you'd researched?" "That's different. We were trying to help you." "By stealing my house?" "We weren't stealing anything. We were family planning, estate management. You were committing fraud." Tom explained it to me. "The power of attorney papers you were drawing up, without my knowledge or consent? That's elder abuse, Jason. It's a felony." "You're crazy. Brittany's followers are going to hear about this. Everyone's going to know what kind of father you are." "Tell them," I said. "Tell them how you moved into my house temporarily and tried to take it. Tell them how your wife turned my home into a film studio without asking. Tell them about the 17,000 followers she values more than basic decency. I'm sure it'll be great content." He hung up. Called back 30 seconds later. Dad, come on, let's talk about this. We can work something out. The kids are upset. Madison's crying." "I'm sorry, the kids are upset. But they've been living in my house for 7 months without once saying thank you, without offering to help with a single bill, without treating a single thing I own with respect. Madison's crying? I cried too, Jason, after your mother died in that house. After I'd spent 5 years there alone, keeping it perfect for the day you might visit with my grandchildren. I cried when I realized you didn't want to visit. You wanted to take. We needed help. I offered help. I offered a place to stay temporarily. You turned it into occupation. You made rules in my house. You scheduled my life. You tried to force me out so you could claim what I'd built. Where are you?" His voice was different now, shaky. "Somewhere you won't turn into content," I said, and hung up. I blocked his number. Then Brittany's. Then I made a call I'd been thinking about for 3 weeks. "Tom? It's Bob. Is your friend Linda still looking for a sailing partner?" Tom laughed. "She asked about you last week at the club. Said she saw you'd sold the cabin. News travels fast." "In a marina community?" "Always. She's been widowed about as long as you. Has a Catalina 30. Been looking for someone to do the Mackinac race with next summer. Linda Chen." I'd seen her around the marina for years. Always had a smile, always helping someone with their lines. Claire had liked her. "She seems like good people," Claire had said once. And from Claire, that was the highest compliment. "Could you give me her number?" "I'll do you one better. She's here now, working on her rigging. Come down. I'll introduce you properly." I drove to the marina. The rental house was only 4 minutes away, compared to the 30-minute drive from the cabin. I could sail whenever I wanted now. No permission needed. No content schedules to work around. Linda was exactly as I remembered. 62, Chinese American, with the kind of practical competence that comes from years of solving problems independently. She was wearing work gloves and had grease on her cheek from whatever mechanical issue she was fixing. "Bob Morrison," Tom said. "Meet Linda Chen." "Linda, this is the friend I've been telling you about." "The engineer," Linda said, shaking my hand firmly. "Tom says you're good with systems. I've been fighting with this windlass for 3 days." I looked at the windlass. The problem was obvious. Your clutch plate is installed backwards. 15-minute fix. Thank God. I was about to throw it in the lake. You free now? We fixed it together. She handed me tools, asked smart questions, had that comfortable working relationship you only get with someone who respects competence. When we finished, she made coffee on her boat's galley stove. Tom tells me you just sold your place, she said, handing me a mug. Needed a change. Family issues? How'd you know? It's usually family issues. My daughter tried to get me to move to Florida last year, said I was getting too old for Michigan winters. What she meant was she wanted me to sell my house so she could have the inheritance money now instead of waiting. What did you do? Told her no. Then I took her off my will and left everything to the Marina Youth Sailing Program. Linda sipped her coffee. She doesn't talk to me anymore. But the teenagers here? They call me Grandma Linda. They actually want to learn things. They say thank you. We talked for 2 hours. About boats, about children who disappointed you, about spouses who died too soon, about learning to live alone without being lonely. Mackinac races in July, she said as I was leaving. Tom's right, I need a crew, someone who can navigate and doesn't panic when the wind picks up. Interested? I haven't raced in 5 years. That's not a no. It's a yes, I said. Definitely a yes. I drove home to my rental house. Small living room, smaller kitchen, but it was mine. No ring lights, no filming schedules, no one demanding I leave my own space. My phone had 17 missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Probably Brittany's flying monkeys, her follower army mobilized to harass me. I blocked them all. Then I changed my number. Tom called the next day. Jason and Brittany moved out yesterday. Left most of their stuff, apparently. The Pattersons said they'd store it for 30 days if they want to claim it. Will they? Jason's asking if you'll pay for a storage unit for them. I laughed. Actually laughed. Tell him no. Already did. Also, Linda wanted me to tell you she's free for dinner Thursday if you are. Said something about discussing navigation strategies for the race. Tell her yes. Thursday, dinner turned into Saturday. Lunch turned into Tuesday coffee. Linda and I fell into an easy rhythm. We didn't talk about our difficult children. We talked about weather patterns and sail trim, and the best anchorages in the North Channel. She taught me about celestial navigation. I taught her about diesel engine maintenance. 3 months later, Jessica the realtor called. Mr. Morrison, I have an interesting situation. Your son is trying to sue the Pattersons, claiming he has tenant rights to your old property. He's filed papers in court. Can he win? Not a chance. He wasn't on the deed, never paid rent, and was explicitly staying as a guest. His texts to you even say temporarily. His lawyer is either incompetent or desperate. Judge will dismiss it, but it's going to cost the Pattersons legal fees. How much? Probably $5,000 by the time it's done. Send me their contact info. I'll cover it. I wrote Emily and James a check, included a note. For the legal fees. I'm sorry my son is making your lives difficult. He doesn't represent the values my wife and I had. You do. Take care of that doc. Claire loved it. Emily called me crying. We can't accept this. Yes, you can. I sold you a house. I'm making sure you get to enjoy it. The lawsuit was dismissed in 6 weeks. Jason sent me one email after, You've destroyed this family. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. I hadn't destroyed anything. I'd simply stopped, letting it be destroyed. Summer came. Linda and I raced Mackinac. We didn't win, but we finished strong, and we spent a week in the harbor afterward, swimming off the boat, cooking simple meals, talking about everything and nothing. You're good at this, Linda said one evening as we watched the sunset from the deck. At sailing? At starting over. Some people can't do it. They get stuck in what was. Claire wouldn't have wanted me stuck. No, I bet she wouldn't have. I still drive past the cabin sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. The Pattersons painted the trim a different color, a soft blue Claire probably would have liked. There's a play structure in the yard now, ready for when their daughter gets big enough. The purple mailbox is still there. I smile every time I see it. Jason hasn't spoken to me in 8 months. Madison sent me a text on my birthday. Happy birthday, Grandpa. Just that. No follow-up, no conversation. But it was something. Tyler tagged me in an Instagram post last week. A photo of himself on someone else's boat, this time clearly labeled as borrowed. The caption, Sometimes you have to learn what you had by losing it. Miss this. I didn't respond. But I didn't block him either. I'm sitting on Linda's boat right now, typing this on the laptop she convinced me to buy. She's below deck, making her famous stir-fry, which is code for edible but barely. She's a terrible cook. I don't care. Tomorrow, we're sailing to Beaver Island for the week. No schedule, no demands, no content to create or rules to follow. The marina is quiet tonight, just the sound of rigging tapping against masts, water lapping at hulls. Tom's on his boat next slipover reading. He waves. I wave back. This is what peace sounds like. Not silence, not absence, but freedom. The freedom to drink coffee at 6 a.m. on a deck that welcomes me, to make plans that are only mine, to love people who value presence over possession. Claire would approve, I think. She'd like Linda. She'd be proud I finally learned what she'd tried to teach me for 43 years. You can't love people into respecting you. You can only respect yourself enough to leave. The cabin was just a building in the end. Home is something different. It's wherever you can breathe freely, sleep soundly, and wake up grateful. I found that. It took losing the house my wife and I built. It took cutting ties with my only child. It took 67 years to learn that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. But I found it. And that's worth everything I left behind.